Hey everybody, it's Beth from the Collectionears Club. I'm doing the It's Good to Be Bad pin tag, and sometimes life imitates art, courtesy of my wonderful fur baby, Darcy. Darcy is having an issue with, I believe it's a mole in the backyard, and she is completely illustrating that it is definitely good to be bad in some situations. Roll the footage.
Darcy, honey, what are you doing? What are you doing? Love. You need to take a break, honey. Oh my goodness.
I'm hanging out with my girl Darce because I've had to put the doggy door down because she's been going at it for hours and she needs to take a break. So she's hanging out with me right down here at my feet, and we're gonna calm ourselves and just watch out the window a little bit because the mole is probably gonna come out of the hole and wave to her and then go back in just to stir her up again. Oh, and it rained yesterday, so she gets the real chunky mud all over the paws, and it's not good. So at any rate, we are here today not to talk about dachshunds and moles, but to talk about pins. And I'm excited because I'm going to do the pin tag that my friend Vicky over at Vixxen Lost in Disney made. And it's called It's Good to Be Bad. And it's all about her love of the villains. She gave everybody 10 prompts or 10 questions, and we're supposed to circle it back around to the villains that she named in the 10 questions and relating to the traits that they each have. This is an incredibly creative tag, and I'm excited to do it. And I want to give a shout out to the wonderful Disney sisters who tagged me to do this, and I appreciate it. So if you haven't checked out Vixxen Lost in Disney and the Disney Sisters, you need to do so stat, because both of those channels are excellent. They've got a ton of Disney content that you will love. On to Vicky's first prompt, and that is Pete, which is the OG of villains. He is Mickey's arch nemesis. Nowadays you see him real comical on different pins, but back in the day Pete was the dude. So because Pete was the original villain, Vicky tied it back to pins and said, show us your first Disney pin. Okay, so the first pin that I'm going to include in the tag is my guy Jacques from Lady and the Tramp, and he was my first pin that I ever remember buying in the Disney parks. He was released back in 2000 when, you know, pin trading just kind of got off the ground. And I remember being on vacation with my husband and son, and we were at Epcot, and I remember running into Mouse Gears just to kind of get some last minute souvenirs, and I thought, you know, I want to get a pin. Pins seem to be a real thing now, and so I ran in and I was looking at them real quick. They were waiting for me, and I thought, I love Disney dogs, and so I got Mr. Jacques. The next prompt is Jafar, and that is all about his desire to be the Sultan of Agrabah. So Vicky asked us to show a pin that relates to a park that you would love to be Sultan of, I guess for a day. At least that's how I treated it. The next pin that I want to feature is this adorable Hong Kong Disneyland pin of Nick and Judy, and this is from, I believe, their My Dreaming series, and that was a series of 8 pins, and they were limited edition, fairly small, of 500 a piece. So the reason that I included Nick and Judy, first of all, it's an adorable pin. She is laying there holding on to her carrot recorder of all things, but she's dreaming about Nick, which is so charming. I just love that. I am primarily a Nick Wilde collector. He is, gosh, in my short list. He's probably my favorite Disney character, if not in the top 3. And I adore him. And it's a really neat pin that features kind of a cloud above Judy's head, and you've got him in kind of the recess, and then there's like a piece of glass or acrylic on the front of it to kind of encase him in that bubble. So just really super creative, and just kind of illustrates how great Hong Kong Disneyland pins can be. This was a close race between Tokyo and Hong Kong because I am absolutely in love with the merchandise that you can get at these parks. Now the only problem was I couldn't decide between Tokyo and Hong Kong because they both have such adorable things, but I figured I had Michael from Tokyo Kawaii Club to kind of help me out in Tokyo, so I ultimately settled on Hong Kong. The other problem that I would face is how to get all of the merchandise home after my day as Sultan there. Now, I'd be very nice to everyone as I was shopping. Everyone else could shop along with me. That's cool. I wouldn't be a diva that way, but I would just have a ball selecting things and not having to worry about my wallet. That would be like heaven for me. And the other problem is I would have to get a barge or a semi or an airplane, any combination of those things to get all my stuff home. And the other reason that I would want to go to Hong Kong is because of Cookie. Cookie would be an excellent reason to go to Hong Kong. Don't have a pin of her yet, but I'll work on it. The third villain that Vicky identified is Cruella de Vil. We all know that she has an unhealthy obsession with puppies. Puppies! Who could do that? She's got to be like one of the worst for that. So here's the pin that I selected for this third category of Cruella. Now, I had to laugh because I was watching Terryn do this tag over at Twinkle Terryn. Her and I had a similar situation because she was searching for a pin to represent one of her choices and she didn't have it in her collection. And I ran into the same thing because if I were to choose a favorite animal, I love dachshunds so much, and Disney actually animated a dachshund. She was one of Pluto's girlfriends, and Pluto was a player. He had two different girlfriends, Fifi and Dinah the dachshund, who is my personal favorite animal. So I decided to go ahead and get a Dinah pin after this because I need that to happen. But while I'm waiting for that pin to show, it's in transit. Here's the pin that I chose as kind of a placeholder. Here is Pluto dressed up as Zero for presumably Halloween, and this combines two of my favorites. I adore Pluto. He's such a great pal and devoted to Mickey. And Zero, again, circling around back to the dachshund love that I have, I feel like Zero had to have been a dachshund in life. I mean, look at the long body, look at the long nose. He's just a dachshund. Nobody could tell me otherwise. So with my love of both of these characters and my love of Disney dogs, I had to choose this one as the placeholder until Dinah makes her way home to me. Number 4 is Gaston, and that is your most handsome pin. For my Gaston pick, I took it literally. I had to choose this one because it's so tongue-in-cheek. It's just so funny to me. This is the M Magazine series that was released out in Disneyland. You can see the Disneyland logo in the bottom left-hand corner. And I believe this was a series that kind of featured the heroes of Disney animated films. And of course, this one features my guy, Prince Philip, because I'm a huge Sleeping Beauty collector. And above them on the magazine, it says the magazine of mice and men. And the captions are, "She'll love you at once," and "Once upon a dream date." So, and she's looking up at him, kind of swooning. So I had to choose this one because it just hilariously represented Gaston, and I thought it was a great choice. This was the August 2007 pin, and each of these pins were released. I believe there were 12 of them all throughout the year 2007, and there were 1,000 of each pin, limited edition. Number 5 is Haak, who I personally enjoy. I love the villains that have a little bit of comical flair to them. Of course, that is relating back to his fear of TikTok Croc, who he has to escape throughout the entire Peter Pan movie, but it's really funny to watch. Here is my Haak pin, and of course it's representing a phobia or fear of mine. I had to get a little creative with this one because my greatest fear which keeps me up at night sometimes, is worrying about my loved ones, their well-being, their happiness, their health. I am nearly an obsessive person. Well, I think they probably would tell you that I am obsessive about how they're all doing, how they're feeling, and I just want to do everything I can to protect them and just take the best care of them that I can. So this kind of reminds me of that, because when I look at it, and the funny thing is, I love the Haunted Mansion, I love Pluto, so I love both of these characters. In fact, Gus, who is the prisoner ghost, and you can tell because he's holding up his ball and chain, poor guy, has it in the afterlife too, but I always thought of him as kind of the lesser intimidating ghost of the hitchhiking ghosts and the Haunted Mansion ghosts in general. But boy, he's sure scaring poor Pluto. Pluto is trying to get away from him, and when I look at this pin, I adore both characters, so I wanted it in my collection, but I just feel like reaching in and just hugging Pluto and protecting him against Gus, and telling Gus to cut it out and go bother somebody else. So I feel very protective over Pluto in this one, and it just kind of tied it back to just my greatest worry, fear, phobia, whatever you want to call it, is something happening to one of my loved ones. That's just the biggest fear for me. This was an open edition set, and I think it was a mystery pin set, and it was called the Mickey's Pin Odyssey Mystery Set. Boy, that's a mouthful. Number 6 is Prince John, and Vicky creatively tied that back to his need for his mommy when things went wrong, and the sucking of the thumb. So that is a pin that reminds you of your family. I decided to include this 0 pin that I got back in 2003. It was October of 2003 when Disneyland does the Haunted Mansion holiday overlay for the Haunted Mansion, and they turn it into a wonderland of Nightmare Before Christmas. And I remember going there with my husband and son. I thought, okay, they're going to turn it into Nightmare Before Christmas, a Haunted Mansion like overlay. So that's just going to be a couple of character placements here and there. And oh my goodness, it blew me away. It's like an entirely different ride, but in a good way. I loved it. The bad part about it is, while I loved it so much, my son hated it. And this makes for a memory that I have of this. Unfortunately, bless his heart, he was quite young at the time when we went to visit this, and bless him, his kryptonite, if you will, when he was little, and a lot of little kids struggle with this, I know, he hated loud noises. And right off the bat, I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but when you go in the stretching room, it's an entirely different situation. So he wasn't expecting it, and there's a loud clap of thunder. And after that happened, he was holding his little ears through the entire rest of the ride, waiting for another clap of thunder. He hated it. He was like, nope, I'm out of here. We had a little flashlight for him that we would duck down against our clothing, but it would give him a little light to look at in case he got scared in some of these dark rides. And boy, that flashlight got a good working through the rest of the ride. But it's making memories that you have a good laugh at many years later. So this is obviously released in Disneyland, and it was back in 2003, as I mentioned, and this was called the 13 Treats in 5 Frightful Weeks series, and this was my favorite scene with my favorite character, so I couldn't not have this pin in my collection. I love, love, love how they set up the ballroom, and they have this towering gingerbread confection on the table, and there's Mr. Zero floating in front of it with a big smile on his face. And it's got little tiny mummies that are hanging below him that glow in the dark. And it was to commemorate the 10th anniversary of Nightmare Before Christmas. And of course, this was in 2003, 10-year anniversary. Now we're in 2018. Yes, I feel old. Moving on to the next pin. Number 7 is Mr. Oogie Boogie, and he adores gambling. So Vicky said, show us a pin that relates to a mystery set, your favorite mystery set pin. And so for this prompt, I selected this pen, and I almost just like took my camera and filmed the entire set of this mystery pin set. But I wanted to play by the rules, so I just selected one of my faves. But honestly, if I were being completely real, this is my favorite mystery set of all time. I just absolutely adore it. So it was an open edition mystery pin set, and it featured all of the kind of OG characters. You have Mickey and Minnie, Daisy and Donald, Goofy, and even Pete got involved. And I'm gonna have to insert a photo for you guys so you could see the entire set because it's just so cute. But they came on these backer cards, and you can see that it's actually the ballroom behind them, and of course Mickey and Minnie are a pair of the ballroom dancers. It was a 10-pin set, and it's just called the Haunted Mansion Mystery Pin Set. They didn't identify it beyond that. But mine is stamped 2008 on the back. Number 8, Miss Ursula, and of course we all know she stole Ariel's singing voice, which was horrible. So Vicky put a more positive spin on it. If you could borrow, not steal, a talent from a Disney character, who would it be and why? And show us a pin that illustrates that. Here is the first time in the tag, one of 2 times, where a loungefly came to my rescue. I kind of panicked because when I was thinking of Ursula and the talent that she borrowed or stole from Ariel in her singing voice, and which character would I want to borrow their talent, I could only think of Rapunzel and her ability to heal those that she loved when they were in need, when they were sick or dying or, you know, had any kind of health distress. She could just wrap her hair around them and heal them. So this is, again, a Loungefly pin that was released in a mystery set at Box Lunch, and luckily I got Rapunzel. She's got a gorgeous kind of glittery effect on her skirt, and this is one of 11 pins that are in that set, and I adore them. I opened a few of them. I'm going to release a video on my channel of me opening those so you can see some of the other ones in this collection. But they are just gorgeous, and I love the creativity of this set. Number 9 is Chernabog, and he is from the movie Fantasia, as we all know, and he is a big baddie. He's really scary. Have you ever seen him at the Halloween party? So that relates to your favorite fantasy pin. Moving on to my favorite fantasy pin. Now, if I'm being completely honest, my favorite fantasy pin, dare I say my favorite pin in my entire collection at the moment, would be this little guy. Well, big guy. But I have featured it so many times before that I have to give a shout out to another pin in my collection for this tag. I just have to do it. So Philip and Aurora, you're still number 1, but I gotta give my my little Nick guy over here a shout out for this one. This is another favorite fantasy pin of mine, and of course it's Mr. Nick Wilde, or shall I say Officer Nick Wilde. For this one, I just adore him. I adore his sass, and he's drinking his to-go cup coffee. He's got his belt on and his sunglasses. I wish Disney would actually make more pins with Nick in his officer uniform because he's looking so dapper, but you know, maybe fingers crossed we'll get a Zootopia 2 and he'll be an officer in that film, so they're thinking, hey, you know, we're going to save that for that film. So Disney, if you're listening, hint, hint. Now, I don't know much about this pin's artist. I purchased him off of eBay, and I'll link it down below because the artist has, or the seller, I'm not sure if it's the artist or just a seller that sells them, but he's got a lot of different kind of obscure characters that don't really get a lot of love as far as pins go. And then finally, on to the last one, is Maleficent, number 10. And since she is the mistress of all evil, you need to pick out your favorite villain pin. This is so funny, and again, it's a situation where life is imitating art, because with Maleficent as being the big baddie, number 10, the lead up, your favorite villain pin, you think Chernabog or Hades or some other big baddie, but nope, here I am, just like in the movie. In The Emperor's New Groove, when they show a close-up of Yzma in her kitty form, and then the camera pans out and you realize she's just a little kitty. And she's adorable, and I love her so much. Like I mentioned, I love when they put a comical spin on a villain, and boy, did they sure do that with Yzma. I adore her. So I kind of panicked with this prompt because I thought, you know, as much as I adore Yzma in her kitty form, I did not have a pin that depicted her in that form. So again, second time that Loungefly came to my rescue for this tag, and I realized that I had gotten a 2-pin set with her in her kitty form and then Cusco in his llama form. And it's still available if you want to purchase that 2-pin set. I'll link the Box Lunch website down below, and I believe it's like $12.90 for 2 pins, and they're really glossy and fun, and I'm just so glad to have a Yzma kitty pin in my collection because she is my fave. So thank you so much for joining me for this wonderful pin tag. I had so much fun. I hope you did too watching it. Since Vicky gave us 10 of her favorite villains to do this tag, I wanted to throw in my question of the day, which surrounds my favorite gal, Yzma, who wasn't a part of the tag. I would love for you in the comments down below, since Yzma had all these potions that turned everybody into different animals, if you had to be turned into an animal by Yzma, which animal would it be and why? I want to give a shout out and thanks again to the Disney sisters, Abby and Hope. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you thinking of me. And to Vicky over at Vixxen Lost in Disney for her creative, wonderful, fun tag. Now it's time for me to select some folks to tag. That being said, if you're watching this and you want to participate, please do. I'm going to leave all the questions down below, and I would love to see your video, or if you don't have a YouTube channel or you don't want to make a video about your pins, go on over to Instagram or go to Facebook and post some of them there. If you participate, please let me know. I'd love to see your pins. So the Disney YouTubers that I would like to tag next are Karen's USA Adventures. She just brightens my day, hands down. If I click on one of her videos, I know I'm gonna smile. I know I'm gonna have a good day or a better day, and everybody needs to find her channel if you haven't already, and I'd love to see her answers to this tag. The second channel that I would like to tag is Pixie Dust and Peaches, and again, Melissa over at this channel just makes me feel better about everything. She just makes me smile and laugh, and in particular, the one video that I literally had on loop here recently when I was having a hard time was the one where her and her sister Mitzi, and I believe they've done 2 different videos where they are taste testing things that subscribers of Melissa has sent into her channel. It just brought a smile to my face. I know it will to you too. I'm going to link it down below. You need to watch it. So the last 2 channels that I'm going to tag are just starting out, just like me, and I have befriended both of them through social media. The first one is Cinder Alley Loves Disney. She is such a sweetheart. She does so many different varied things on her channel, and I would love to see what pins she picks for this tag. Finally, my sister from another mister, the Disney housewife Heather. I adore her so much. I feel like she is a kindred spirit. You know, you just meet those people and you think, yes, we would be the best of friends, and I'd have to hug her every day. And she's just a really good, gentle, sweet soul that I love to watch. So Heather, I'd love to see your choices for this tag, so tag your it as well. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope that you guys are enjoying your fall, and I'll plan on seeing you in the next video. Bye!
Darce, honey, are you okay? Okay. Sleep it off, honey. Love you.